Time now for the voice of the land on the Big Play Network with your hosts, Kevin Arnold and Always Positive Jay.
Browns get the win 27-14. Watson's first game as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns after trading for him back in March, serving his 11-game suspension, being paid $230 million fully guaranteed. Looked rusty like everybody thought he would. It's been 700 days since Deshaun Watson took an actual snap. Now, I know he played in the preseason. That game speed is nowhere near what it is in the regular season, especially 11 games in when everybody's in mid-season to late-season form in the NFL. It is very difficult to catch up, and he's going to have to play catch-up in some big games coming up. But it was the defense and the special teams, two areas of this Browns team that we have criticized heavily on this show and so many other places. You get a punt return touchdown from Donovan Peoples-Jones. You get a fumble recovery touchdown from Denzel Ward. You get a pick six from Tony Fields, of all people. And so the defense, the special teams pick up Deshaun Watson and the offense, who don't really score this afternoon. Of course, there were a few field goals they were able to generate, but hey, that's off the leg of Cade York. That's not the offense finishing out the drive. Bree, I'm actually going to start with you. Your thoughts on the game, and we'll kind of look at it from a football standpoint, of course. Rusty offense, but hey, defense and special teams showed up.
I said, like, coming into this that he was going to be rusty his first game. I mean, he really couldn't have had a better starting game against a shitty team against the Texans, because it gave him the cushion to make those mistakes. You knew he was going to be sloppy passing. You knew he wasn't going to be able to react as fastly as quickly as he did when he played for Houston, just because he hasn't seen an actual football field in 700 days it was?
Yeah. 700 days, so, yes.
I don't think anybody should be surprised. If anybody's surprised, I'd question their football knowledge. But at the end of the day, we got the win. And really, that's all that matters.
As they say, a win's a win's a win.
By any means necessary, we're still in the hunt. I hate saying that because it's the Browns and we're never truly in the hunt. But on paper, we are still in the hunt. So
mathematically not eliminated yet. We do have to make sure we say that.
We are still there.
Oh, last week when they showed the In the Hunt logo with all like the teams and ours is at the very bottom, I'm like, are you doing this to torture me? Like, what are you doing here, guys?
Somebody sent me something last week, and it was like, there's a 4% chance. I was like, so there's a chance.
What's all this 1 in a million talk?
So you're saying there's a chance.
Let's get Dumb and Dumber is another way to describe some of the stuff we've seen from the Browns, not just this season, but other seasons as well. So perfect tie-in. And Jay, there's been plenty of people talking about how like they just had to get – Watson was going to be rusty. I think we've mentioned that as well. And the Browns just had to go down to Houston and get a win against a bad team. Didn't matter if it was 10-3 or, 17-10, whatever it was, they needed to come out on top and get another win to stack another one before going into two tough AFC North teams. You can't really criticize with the offense being bad if everybody said it was going to be rusty and the team did what they were supposed to do. So you really can't criticize from a football standpoint.
No, you really can't. I mean, like she said it best. You went in there and you got to win no matter what. The defense picked you up. Special teams picked you up. Like everyone, we've been saying it's all show. He's rusty, dude. Like balls are going thrown into the ground for a reason. This guy, I mean, as a person, I'm not the fan of him, but as a player, he's a phenomenal player. He will get better, and I mean. That first drive, he had a strike to Schwartz, who got caught from behind and fumbled, and then there was a couple other penalties. Like, it'll all catch up to him eventually, hopefully. I mean, you're paying him a lot of money. God, I hope he doesn't look like that forever.
Yeah, you don't want to see a $230 million quarterback throwing interceptions in the red zone into the end zone in a couple seasons, or by next year, even at the end of this year, once he knocks that rust off. That excuse is only going to last so long with how much talent Deshaun Watson had before all of this happened. I would describe today's game, and I mean this seriously, and I don't mean this is not to take light of any situation. I kind of saw this Browns game as the perfect scenario for all Browns fans, because there are a lot of Browns fans still conflicted. There are a lot of Browns fans that are strictly looking at it from a football standpoint. You have the best quarterback probably this team has had since Bernie on paper from what we've seen talent-wise in the past, and came out, looked rusty. The team won in spite of that. Every other phase of this team scored. It wasn't Deshaun Watson scoring those touchdowns. But so the people that are conflicted and maybe having difficulties, like I want to root for Nick Chubb, and I fit into this category. I want to root for guys like Nick Chubb. I want to root for guys like Myles Garrett and some of these other guys. Donovan Peoples-Jones, a 6th-round pick who is now he's scratching and clawing and making plays, showing you what kind of athleticism. He wasn't utilized at that team up north, at that school up north. But then again, you have the $230 million quarterback as the face. And again, football-wise, he will be great. But there is a lot of other stuff that surrounds him, and it's not going away. It's just not going away at all. So it's very difficult to see him as the face of this franchise. But him not scoring today kind of, helped the people that are rooting for these other players still feel that Browns energy. And the people that are rooting for him and rooting for the Browns and only looking at it from a football standpoint, they're saying it can't be any worse moving forward. He knocked the rust off, so now you did it against a bad team, so now as you get into a game against the Bengals, you can start to see more and more of that greatness that Deshaun Watson possesses from a football standpoint.
Well put. I mean, he had a play today where you could see the flash of what Deshaun Watson's. It looked like they had him sacked, and he spun out of it. Yeah, and then I was like, oh, this dude's about to launch it deep. And I don't even remember what happened. I don't think we completed the play or anything, but it's just that's what he's going to bring. Like, plus he
has the ability to extend plays.
Exactly.
He extends plays with his legs. It's always been his thing. Even with a terrible O-line with the Texans, even with no weapons, hardly any weapons with the Texans, he's still extended. He's still put up numbers. So behind a healthy Browns O-line, he can be great. He has Coop. He has BBJ. He has Njoku when he's healthy. Like, those targets are something that he's never played with. Mm-hmm. So from a football standpoint, it's great. It's anybody who's strictly focusing on football can't deny that he's an upgrade to our roster from last year. If there's a couple of those throws today that if he hits them in the numbers, it's easy touchdowns. He threw it in the dirt. It happens. Anybody who expected him to come out singing is just silly at this point. I don't know.
And it's so different when you see these videos of him in his first full week of practice preparing as a starter. And I know that some of the media took some flack because they're showing Anthony Schwartz drop and some of these receivers drop or some bad throws from Deshaun Watson. But I mean, we saw more of that today. But he's also throwing against air in practice versus now throwing against 11 other defenders. Yes, the Houston Texans are the worst NFL team, but those are still NFL players with professional level talent. There's only 32 teams that some of these guys can go to when they come out of college. Those guys earn their way to the NFL. They are still professionals. So you got receivers that are trying to run crisp routes against them, and a guy that's probably a half a step to a full step behind getting them the football. All of that offensively was bound to happen.
I mean, we also even hit on the fact that he's literally playing in Houston. Like, his first game, there's a lot of emotion in this sport. It's so much more emotion than people even realize, I think, a lot of the time. And you're going back to where all this stuff happened, where you used to play, where you started your career. That's going to be a huge factor in the game, on top of the fact, like we said, he hasn't played in 700 days. So we'll see where he goes. All we got to hope is each week he keeps getting a little better, a little better, a little better. And if we keep stringing wins together, maybe we can sneak into these playoffs this year. But I'm more hoping just for growth from the quarterback position myself.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you want growth from the quarterback position, but I mean the defense last couple weeks has been pretty good. I mean, you do it against the GOAT, you start it there. You take everything with a grain of salt being against Houston, but you did what you're supposed to do. Do we think that the defense is finding what they were last year, what they were supposed to be this year? Are they finding some sort of sense of that aggression, that energy, and that strong defense that we all expected to see this year? Bree?
I hope so. I can't watch another couple weeks of like the first 12 weeks of the season. That was, or I wouldn't even say 12 weeks because they did well week 12, but the first 8 or 9 games of this year were god awful. And I'm a very vocal Joe Woods critic. I wanted him gone 2 years ago, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt last year. And it's been the same thing. I understand that they can be a second half of the season defensive team, but I want to see it all year. I don't want the inconsistency that we seem to always have on special teams and defense. They turn it on and off for no rhyme or reason. Like there's just no reason for Denzel Ward to be as bad as he has been this year. He's declined so much in like the past year and a half, and I'm a Buckeye fan, so
Newsom,
like it
too.
hurts my heart to say that, but he's been trash this year. He's missed reading assignments. He's not following assignments. He's, for whatever reason, none of these guys can tackle. I can't even think of a good tackle that any of our safeties have done this year. MJ Emerson has been a light, and I will praise him to the end of the year. But Brady's been terrible. Ward's been awful, and they just can't tackle. Like these are little. Like I've seen little kids tackle better than this, and I just can't understand.
Or get
why.
turnovers was the thing today. We got a bunch of those finally. It's like, oh my God, is that an interception? I forgot what those were. Like, oh, beautiful thing to see those again.
That fumble recovery from Ward was hilarious to me. I feel like for a second he was confused.
Yeah.
He saw the ball. Like if you rewatch it, he saw the ball and like hesitated.
He's like, oh man, I should probably go get that.
Yeah, like the ball.
I love when the tight end on the what was that first play of the game and it popped up. I'm like, please tell me that stayed in. I don't know why. I absolutely love plays like that.
Today's game was weird. That is the
to say the least
football game I've ever watched. I've never seen anything like that.
But we typically say with the Browns, we've never seen anything like that. If there's any team that's going to bring that out and show you something you've never seen, and not from the best of ways in the NFL, it is still going to be the Cleveland Browns. At least they got that going for them. They're always going to give you something you've never seen before.